Section 10.3 is another special right triangle, and it's called the 30, 60, 90 triangle because the angles are 30, 60, and 90 degrees. So I'm going to show you guys what that pattern is. Use the Pythagorean theorem to find the length of B. So hypotenuse squared equals leg squared plus leg squared. So 4 equals B squared plus 1. Subtract 1 from both sides. 3 equals B squared. Square root both sides, and we get B equals the square root of 3. This is the pattern. Across from the 30-degree angle is always going to be 1. Across from the 60-degree angle is always going to be the square root of 3. And across from the 90-degree angle is always going to be 2. This is where setting up ratios, unlike the last lesson, is always going to be helpful. Okay, so this is the ratio we're always going to set up. 1 is, so 1, we're always going to put the length of the shortest leg across from the 30-degree angle. Square root of 3, we're always going to put the length of the longest leg, which is across from the 60-degree angle. And then 2, under that, we're always going to put the length of the hypotenuse, which is across from the 90-degree angle. So, again, let me just write this out. 30, 60, 90. So this is the leg across from the 30-degree angle, this is the length of the leg across from the 60-degree angle, and this is the length of the leg across from the 90-degree angle. So let's set up our ratios first. 1 square root of 3 and 2. So again, this is always going to be 30, 60, 90. So across from the 30-degree angle is 12. So it's going to go here. Across from the 60-degree angle is nothing, so we don't need to put anything for this problem. And across from the 90-degree angle is x, so we'll put that under the 2. Now we're going to take our two ratios that we have and cross multiply them. So we have 1/12 equals 2 over x. We don't need to use this one because we weren't given the length across from the 60-degree angle. So let's cross multiply. X times 1 is x. 12 times 2 is 24. And that means the length of our hypotenuse is 24. Now that makes sense because across from the 30 is 12, and the length of the hypotenuse is twice that, which is 24. Again, setting up ratios is going to be really useful in this section. So let's start by setting up our ratios. Oops, trying to make this a little smaller. Okay, so 1 square root of 3, 2. So again, it just goes in order. 30, 60, 90. So across from the 30-degree angle is 5. Across from the 60-degree angle is x. And we weren't given anything across from the 90, so we don't need to use this one. So now let's cross multiply. X times 1 is x. 5 times the square root of 3. Well, 5 is not under the radicand, so he stays on the outside, and then times the square root of 3. So we know that this is 5 square root of 3. And you'll notice across from the 30 is 5, and this is 5 times the square root of 3. Let's start by setting up our ratios. 1 square root of 3, 2. So this is across from the 30, across from the 60, across from the 90. So across from our 30-degree angle is x. Across from our 60-degree angle is 5. And across from our hypotenuse is, we do not need it in this problem. We don't need that ratio because there's nothing across from it. So now let's cross multiply. 5 times 1 is 5. X times the square root of 3 is x square root of 3. Ooh, I got to do a little bit of work here. We're going to divide both sides by square root of 3. Actually, I'm not going to have you do these problems. Don't worry about this example. I'm actually going to take these out of your homework because we're going to have to do something called rationalizing the denominator, and I don't want you guys to have to worry about that. So do not worry about this example, and I will not put them in your homework. So one more example that I'm going to go through. Actually, we're going to do two more. Okay, so set up your ratios. So we have 1, square root of 3, and 2. Those never change. Okay, 30, 60, 90. So across from my 30-degree angle is x. Across from my 60-degree angle is y. And across from my hypotenuse is 8. So we need to find x and y. Now, 2 divided by 8, if you can simplify that before we start cross multiplying, it will make it way easier. So 2/8 simplifies to 1/4, so let's just use that. We can find x first, so I'm going to use this ratio and this ratio. We can't use this one because we don't know y, and you can't have two unknowns. So 1 over x equals 1 over 4, cross multiply, and we get 4 equals x. And then now we need to find y. So I'm going to use square root of 3 over y equals 1 over 4. Cross multiply, y times 1 is y. 4 times the square root of 3, well 4 is on the outside, square root of 3 is on the inside, so we just get y equals 4 square root of 3. And I'm going to do one more example. I'm skipping, let's see, I'm going to skip A. And then we'll do B. Okay, so we're just doing B right now. So we have 1, square root of 3, and 2. Again, that never changes. 30, 60, 90. So across from my 30-degree angle is x. Across from my 60-degree angle is y. And across from my hypotenuse is 42. So let's find x first. I'm going to use these two to cross multiply, but I noticed that I can simplify this fraction. They're both even, so that simplifies to 1 over 21. So we're going to say 1 over x equals 1 over 21, which means that x has to be 21. Okay, we cross multiply and we get x equals 21. Now to find y, I'm going to use square root of 3 over y, and then I'm going to use this same one, which is simplified to 1 over 21. So we're going to cross multiply. Y times 1 is y. 21 times the square root of 3 is 21 square root of 3. Okay. So you always want to check to see if you can simplify in the beginning, because it just makes it easier. If you didn't recognize that that fraction simplified, then you would just have to simplify at the end. Instead, here you would have gotten 42 divided by 2, and then you would have said 42 divided by 2 is 21. But it's just easier if you simplify here in the beginning. And that's it for section 10.3.